The INFJ is known as the advocate. Gentle, genuinely caring, the most empathetic people you will ever meet. So why do they suddenly and without warning vanish from relationships? It is not about being sensitive. It is not about minor conflicts. It is about a set of 10 non-negotiable boundaries that, once crossed, result in instant, permanent closure. These are the absolute deal breakers for the rarest personality type. You need to know them because the INFJ's silence is the loudest warning you will ever receive. Stay until the end because the most shocking truth, the one thing that completely shatters an INFJ's soul, isn't even on this list. INFJs operate from a place of deep, unwavering integrity. They live by their values and they extend that same expectation of honesty to you. When someone lies to an INFJ, it doesn't just hurt their feelings. It shatters something fundamental in the relationship. Here is the dangerous truth. INFJs are incredibly intuitive. They can often sense dishonesty even if they can't articulate why. They notice the slight inconsistencies, the fleeting moment your eyes shift, the tone that doesn't quite match the words. When they catch you in a lie, it merely confirms their suspicion and forces them to question every single thing you have ever said. What makes this unforgivable is that INFJs are meticulous with their communication. They choose their words with immense thought. When you lie, it feels like a personal rejection of who the INFJ is and what they stand for. They will hold on to that memory of betrayal as a permanent marker that you are fundamentally untrustworthy. Recovery from a breach of trust requires genuine time, consistent honesty, and real accountability. Half-truths don't cut it. Surface-level apologies are meaningless. They need to see a genuine understanding of why their integrity matters so much. INFJs see through manipulation faster than almost any other type. They are masters at reading people because they spend so much mental energy trying to understand the deeper currents of human behavior. They immediately spot the guilt trips, the victim playing, and the emotional leverage designed to get your way. The greatest frustration is this: manipulation is utterly disrespectful. It suggests the manipulator believes the INFJ is not intelligent enough to see what is happening. It treats them like a pawn. For the INFJ, it's a form of dishonesty wrapped up in emotional tactics. They refuse to tolerate emotional games, testing them, using the silent treatment as punishment, or creating drama for attention. These games are exhausting and pointless. If you have an issue, they want you to just say it directly. They will always prefer an uncomfortable truth over passive-aggressive chaos. INFJs are natural givers. They will move mountains to help, listen to your problems, and show up when they are needed most. But the pattern is always the same. People start expecting the help, the listening, the support, as though it is owed to them. This is one of the quickest ways to push an INFJ away. They don't help because they want something transactional. They need to know their enormous investment of time and energy is recognized and that it matters. When you take their efforts for granted, the message you send is, your time and energy are not valuable. The pain deepens when an INFJ notices you only reach out when you need something, advice, a favor, a shoulder to cry on. If you never call just to check in or see how they are doing, that imbalance becomes obvious. They crave reciprocal relationships where both people are deeply invested. INFJs crave genuine human connection. They want to know the real person behind the social mask, not just the curated version you show to the world. Superficial conversations, surface-level small talk, and friendships based purely on circumstance leave the INFJ feeling utterly empty and unfulfilled. When you refuse to be authentic or vulnerable with an INFJ, you create a barrier that they find impossible to tolerate. They are offering their genuine self, their real thoughts and feelings, and they expect the same in return. If you constantly perform, they will eventually decide that the relationship is not worth their emotional investment. This is particularly true in romantic partnerships. They need a partner willing to be emotionally available and real. A partner who keeps everything surface level or who repeatedly shuts down emotional conversations will face an INFJ who becomes increasingly distant and withdrawn. They also refuse to tolerate fakeness just to go along with social norms. They can see through people who say what they think others want to hear instead of what they actually believe. That inauthenticity is mentally exhausting for the INFJ, forcing them to constantly decipher what is true beneath your performance. INFJs are guided by their moral compass. Their values are not casual preferences, they are fundamental to their identity. When someone disrespects an INFJ's values or tries to convince them to compromise on their principles, they are essentially asking the INFJ to become someone different. This is a hard, unbreakable boundary. They will not tolerate people who mock their beliefs, pressure them to act against their morality, or try to dismiss what they stand for. If an INFJ believes something is wrong, they simply will not do it, no matter the pressure. What makes this a relationship killer is when you try to get them to compromise a value for the sake of the relationship. An INFJ will end a long-term relationship if their partner keeps asking them to go against their principles. They would genuinely rather be alone than live inauthentically. INFJs are deeply emotional people, even if they often keep it private. They require emotional responsiveness from their closest relationships. When someone is chronically emotionally cold, avoidant, or withdrawn, the INFJ struggles to feel connected to them. When an INFJ takes the risk of opening up and their friend or partner responds with cold indifference, it is devastating. They've offered vulnerability, and the coldness feels like a personal rejection. Over time, the INFJ will simply stop trying to connect at that level. They don't need constant outward expression. They are perfectly comfortable with quiet moments and thoughtful silence. But they need to know that the people they care about are capable of meeting them emotionally sometimes. Complete, consistent emotional unavailability is a deal breaker. INFJs are naturally considerate. They instinctively think about how their actions affect others. They consider other people's feelings and perspectives before they act. When someone is consistently selfish or doesn't seem to care how their behavior impacts those around them, the INFJ loses respect. This goes far beyond occasional thoughtlessness. It's the chronic selfishness, the constant decision-making that benefits only one person without considering the people who care about them. The INFJ will eventually pull away from this one-sided dynamic. The most frustrating aspect: the moment an INFJ realizes they bent over backward for someone, only to discover that person would never do the same for them. That revelation is a fundamental change in how the INFJ views that person, and it often marks the beginning of the end. INFJs are almost always their own harshest critics. They hold themselves to impossibly high standards. So when someone else criticizes them, it can hit hard, especially if the criticism is delivered without any compassion or genuine care. They can handle criticism. They often appreciate honest feedback because they're committed to self-improvement. But the criticism must come from a place of care, not judgment. They need to sense that you like them and want to help them grow, not that you are pointing out flaws to make yourself feel superior. The absolute red line is public criticism or humiliation. If someone embarrasses an INFJ in front of others or criticizes them publicly, that is a serious breach. Real issues must be discussed privately, with compassion and with the goal of mutual understanding. When an INFJ makes a promise, they mean it. They will move mountains to follow through on their commitments. They expect the same level of dedication and reliability from the people they care about. When someone repeatedly breaks promises, the INFJ doesn't just feel disappointed, they lose respect. This is about more than minor inconvenience. It's about a person who says they'll be there and isn't. someone who promises to change and never does. The pain is that the INFJ counted on that person to be as good as their word. They don't play games with their words, so they assume others don't either. If it happens repeatedly, the INFJ will start to see that person as unreliable. They will stop counting on them. They'll stop making plans. Essentially, the INFJ silently downgrades that relationship to something much less significant in their life. You won't hear a complaint. You will just fade away. INFJs are constantly working on themselves. They are obsessed with how they can be better people, how they can understand themselves and others more deeply. Because of this, they have very little tolerance for people who refuse to acknowledge their mistakes or work on improving. When someone hurts an INFJ and then absolutely refuses to take responsibility for their actions, the INFJ finds it impossible to move past. They need to see genuine accountability, an understanding of why the action was wrong, remorse, and a commitment to doing better. If someone makes the same mistake repeatedly and then acts like the INFJ is being unreasonable for bringing it up, the INFJ will conclude that this person is not capable of the kind of honest, deep relationship they require. They refuse to tolerate people who are resistant to any form of personal growth. Understanding these 10 boundaries isn't just about what to avoid. It's about recognizing that INFJs set these limits because they value genuine human connection and personal integrity above all else. They are not mean. They are protecting their core. INFJs often appear flexible and accommodating. They are people pleasers who hate confrontation and often sacrifice their own needs. But underneath that accommodation is a solid core of values that will not budge. When someone crosses these lines repeatedly, the cutoff may seem sudden, but the INFJ has been giving warning signs for a long, long time. I promised you the most shocking truth, the one thing that truly shatters the INFJ's soul. It's not a single boundary. It's the realization that their own deep goodness and empathy was weaponized against them by a trusted person. That is the ultimate betrayal that leaves a permanent scar. If you are an INFJ, know that your boundaries are necessary. You deserve relationships built on trust and authenticity. If you care about an INFJ, respect these rules. Did I miss one? Let me know in the comments below. And if this perspective helped you understand your advocate better, hit that subscribe button. I release new deep dive analyses every week. Thank you for watching.